I can't picture it.
No, it can't happen. Who remembers a movie from about 25 years ago called The Monster Squad? Anyone remember that movie? Wasn't that a great movie? We got the guy who did that movie. And I want him to comment, Shane, since you did The Monster Squad, and you got to recreate some of these characters, although you had to make them look somewhat different, but how iconic was Bela Lugosi's Dracula when you had to do your own Dracula to pay homage to him in Monster Squad?
That's a very good question. I knew you'd have a good question. I didn't know what it would be until just now. The thing is, when we did the Monster Squad, we were all very excited because it was a loving tribute to the Universal catalog of creatures and characters. And we had this naive thought that we could actually replicate as close as possible the Lugosi Dracula, the Karloff Frankenstein, the actual creature from the Black Lagoon, again Karloff's mummy, and we were working with Stan Winston at the time, and we were very excited to do this until we got a no from Universal saying no, absolutely not. Those are all trademarked, like patented looks. So it was then the challenge to go, okay, how close can we go without getting sued? And that it kind of made its own mark. But the idea was, and I'm here really tonight. This is such an amazing panel of people, and they've all said such wonderful things. I'm here really to represent all of the makeup artists and technical people that have been inspired by these two films. Because, again, we watched them as children, we watched them through Famous Monsters of Filmland, our generation, my generation, anyway. That was the key to the outside world. So, you know, going through and recreating all of those great characters was something that we tried very hard to have the essence, at least have the essence or something that you could recognize within all of those characters. And I tried very hard on the Mummy to kind of put as much Karloffian touches in that I could sneak in as possible. So I hope it worked out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Monster Squad, great. You mentioned Universal, and yes, Universal has been very circumspect about how they have their monsters treated by outside events, but I will say this, I told them we were doing this event today and they donated 3 movies of Dracula, 3 of Frankenstein, so give it up for Universal for at least supporting the event. It probably helped that we're a non-profit, but that's a different story. One more question for Bela, then we're going to go to Danny, and we have a surprise. The last question is on Dracula, then we're going to move to Frankenstein. Is there any other creative endeavor that your dad did in his life, do you think, that came close to the impact he had in this first Dracula film?
Probably not. I can't think of any. No, I can't think of any.
The next one would be Igor from Son of Frankenstein.
Being the stage? Oh, yeah, that was a part. He did a masterful job. He did a masterful job playing Igor. But really, you know, his love was the stage. And, you know, he brought that training to films. And that's part of what's memorable about the films.
Thank you very much. Please give Mr. Lugosi a nice hand for being here and being on our panel. And don't forget, after Frankenstein, I know you're going to all rush out to dinner, but come in the lobby and say hello one more time to all these nice folks. Everyone here is a fan, and I think there's about 600-700 of you here today. Everyone's here is a fan, but we have the biggest fan in the world in the house. He's the #1 fan of all this stuff, and that's Mr. Dan Roebuck.
Thank you. I have your license.
If you go to Dan's house, you understand why he's got the most amazing collection of fan material of this monster stuff that you can imagine. So the question is,
It's kind of working. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I know these people want to watch Frankenstein and hear Sarah Karloff talk. They're wondering, what's the guy from Matlock doing here in the first place?
The question is, when did you first become a fan, and how much of an impact did this film and Frankenstein have on you?
Well, Scott, I became a fan of these movies like all of these people here as a child. And the fact is that it's absurd that I'm sitting here next to my friends and my friends down there, because I'm only an actor because of Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Jr. I watched those movies and I wondered, how did they play those parts in the makeup? And they were always different. We're talking about Dracula and Frankenstein, but these two actors played hundreds of roles distinctly different. Different wigs, different hair. These are the iconic ones. So I think the impact of Lugosi and Karloff on our culture has been much greater than these movies, because I think people forget that they've seen them in 100 other movies. What was your question? I can't believe I'm here. What did Sarah Karloff think about that?
We're going to get to Sarah.
Oh, thank God.
We're transitioning to Frankenstein.
You have a dead...
I have a dead mic. Nobody cares.
Who's this one? It's alive.
Okay. The special surprise is this.
I want my license plate.
My license plate is Karloff.
Karloff license plate.
Yeah, my Karloff, and Sarah wants it, but you can't give it to someone. That's what this thing...
I'll buy it.
The special surprise is this.
Take your car.
Special surprise is this. I want you to go back 80 years. We're going back 80 years in time. And we have a special guest. He's the man who created all of the makeups in all these wonderful movies. He worked in Dracula, he created the Frankenstein character and the Mummy and the Wolfman and all that. And we have him here. Just imagine it's 1931. The Pomona Fox just opened. I want you to give a nice warm Pomona welcome to Mr. Jack Pierce. Mr. Pierce, tell us, how did you come up with the idea of the Frankenstein monster?
Well, I spent 6 months of research prior to creating the Frankenstein monster. It was a lot of hard work, trying various ways and means. What can you do? You see, Frankenstein was not a doctor. He was a scientist. So I figured he had to open the head to put the brains in there, and then he would use wires to rivet the head closed. Then I added the electrical outlets to run the electrical current to his neck, here and here.
And what about the wonderful makeup that Boris Karloff is wearing on his face and head? How did you create that?
The wig, for the wig I used a cotton roll on the head to get the flatness, and also the circle that protrudes from the head. And then the large gash on his forehead, that's where you open the head to put the brains in there, the artificial brains, right? The makeup took 3 hours every morning, and the wig was created new every day as well. Then finally you add the electrical outlets to the neck. The makeup for the face and the hands was sky gray, originated by me through Max Factor's organization.
And how about that amazing costume? Did you help modify that too?
We took Karloff's coat, and then we cut the sleeves on the coat short to make his arms and fingers look longer. He was dressed all in black to give him the height. And then I padded him to make him look 8 feet tall. I didn't really teach Karloff how to walk. We talked about it, but really the man is so wonderful. I think the greatest of them all as far as playing these parts. It's my belief that the Frankenstein monster is the greatest of all, the monstrous man ever to be portrayed in motion pictures.
Thank you, Jack Pierce. Jack Pierce.